Hello, everyone, and welcome to the special deadCenter edition of the Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of the Cinematropolis.com. I'm the editor-in-chief and film critic for the Cinematropolis, Caleb Masters, and today I'm very excited to be sitting down with the writer, director, producer of the Jurassic Games, Ryan Bellgardt. We interviewed him last year about his film Gremlin, and I'm excited to have him back at the table again today. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Caleb, thanks for having me, man. I like your new digs, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I'm in a new space, a little less dining room, a little more office studio.
I like it a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into our discussion of your new film that's actually gotten quite a bit of buzz online, the Jurassic Games.
It feels real, doesn't it? The sand on your skin, the taste in your mouth. You are no longer death row inmates. You are contestants on the greatest game show in the world, the Jurassic Games.
Every year, 10 of the world's most lethal death row criminals compete for their freedom in the Jurassic Games, a TV show where contestants must survive against ferocious dinosaurs and each other. The last survivor is granted freedom, fame, and fortune. It's been a year since we've talked, and you went right from Gremlin. I mean, you were riding the wave of Gremlin at deadCenter last year, but you've since then put together a feature film that is infinitely more special effects heavy. Can you tell folks a little bit about the film?
Yeah, sure. Well, the Jurassic Games is a really fun action dinosaur movie. I wanted to do a movie that was really fast-paced and fun and featured lots of visual effects because our visual effects team got a lot of experience on Gremlin, and we really wanted to push it, on this next one and really see what we could do. And I kind of like doing. It's kind of boring to me if our projects aren't like ridiculously ambitious. So, this was one that we thought was going to be great. And Galen Christie, who's our sales agent, wanted us to do a dinosaur movie with convicts in it. And then I kind of tossed that around in my head for a while and came up with the thought of making it a virtual reality game, in the vein of Running Man or something like that, which is a movie I grew up loving. So yeah, we kind of mashed all that stuff together and came up with that story. You got some Ready Player One in there, you got some Running Man in there, you got Jurassic Park, the Hunger Games. Yeah, you're throwing a lot of stuff in there, but I really did want to make it a unique story and sort of do our unique spin on that and make it a fun and exciting journey where, to me, you're not really sure who the bad guy is in the movie. And so I think that's kind of a fun, I like writing bad guys like that, where you don't really know who the bad guy is until the very, very, very end. And I think that's kind of what we did there. And you're not sure who you're rooting for. And I thought that was fun. And, of course, you got lots of dinosaurs and things in the movie that I remember filming them and thinking, I don't think that's ever been done before. We have a character who has a kung fu fight with a chain with 3 velociraptors. Oh. And he's like doing spin kicks and punches and whipping them with chains. And I remember thinking as we were filming, I've never seen this. And then as we did all the visual effects and put the dinos in there, I was like, yeah, I've never seen this. And so it's fun. It's fun to hear people who've seen the movie comment on that, or make memes of it or whatever, It's like really fun.
A guy who is kung fu fighting raptors with a chain. Ryan, I'm there. I'm there.
This is great because in the script that I wrote, he's stuck on a chain and he can't get out. And then the velociraptors come and just eat him. Well, when the actor Tiger Shu came in, he came to me and said, well, I read that part of the script and I just wanted to let you know that I'm actually trained in chain martial arts. And he said, it could be cool if I get loose from my, chain and then use it to fight back with the raptors. And we were all like, oh, well, that sounds awesome. And then he starts taking the prop chain and whipping it around like Bruce Lee or something, like inches from our face. We're all just like, think we're going to get smacked in the face by this deal. And, but it's like really good. I mean, he's like doing this whole deal. And I was like, well, let's come up with a choreographed routine and make it a situation where, you break free and you're chained to this thing and then you start whipping it around like a whip, And then we came up with that thing and in a few hours and then choreographed this fight. And then it was up to our animators at the end to put the raptors in and be reacting to all the things he was doing. But it turned out to be such a cool, it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite scene in the movie. It just turned out so cool. And it was completely like just because he knew how to do it. It wasn't written that way.
And this was was this something that happened during the production,
Yes.
like after you cast the actor?
Yes.
Right? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's fantastic. That's movie magic right there.
Well, I mean, we were excited. I was thrilled because what I wanted Jurassic Games to be was action and fun. What we did sort of accidentally too, that was also kind of movie magic, is that we put the world in a virtual world where really anything can happen. So it's kind of easily explained away. Well, yeah, of course they would want this kung fu fight to happen in this virtual game, and so. It kind of just all kind of magically fell together, and that's the kind of the special part of this movie. Is it was one of these movies that, as from the very beginning, when we were writing it and putting it together, we thought, this one feels different. It feels different. It feels like it's hard to explain, but it just feels like there's something here. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about this, and it kind of just worked.
You've really tapped into a lot of the conversation on Film Online. I mean, of course, you guys are releasing around a Jurassic World, but I know I've seen a lot of people who are actually very excited about this movie. Who, Gremlin, you see some buzz, but I think you guys have tapped into something, that special thing you're talking to. You've tapped into people who like the fun. They're making dinosaurs more fun.
Jurassic Park probably is one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite movie of all time. And the Jurassic World movies, I hope they do well, and I love them. But you're right. I mean, I think one thing I like to do with our movies is put the characters in ridiculous or unwinnable scenarios. And we've done that with all of our movies. But I always like the actors and the characters to play it like it's really happening to them, because I feel like that if they're winking at the camera too much, or if they're aware of the world, then I feel like it loses some of its chance to have moments of real drama or suspense, and I want those in the movie. And so I think there are moments of suspense and drama in Jurassic Games, but there's also moments of camp, and there's moments of comedy, and there's moments of, all those things. For me, I kind of feel like real life is like that, I mean, like real life has moments of drama and horror and comedy. And so I'm not trying to just make this one, I'm trying to figure out how to say it. It's like, it's not just one, like I'm going to do one specific style or one specific, I'm not going to make this like a Sharknado over the top B movie where, no, it's like I'm trying to make this into a story that does resonate and does make you think. And then afterwards you're thinking, well, what side would I be on in this argument? Or, and it gives you more to think about than just dinosaurs eating people.
Right. No, that's good. And well, I think in the film, right, you have the people who are actually competing in the Jurassic Games are prisoners, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the way it's set up in our movie is that they're all convicted murderers on death row. So they're convicted killers. So they've been sentenced to death, and they're all going to die by lethal injection anyway.
So these are the worst of the worst.
They're the worst of the worst. They're convicted killers. One of them, Anthony Tucker, who's played by Adam Hampton, is perceived by the media and other people to be possibly innocent. We don't really know, but he was convicted. And so the producers of the television show, the Jurassic Games, are saying, hey, we're just, this has been accepted in society for years now. We put these death row inmates on here, and when they die on this virtual show, then we inject them with their lethal injection and they die. And but so now you've got the situation where there's a contestant that could be innocent, and you've got people protesting, and you've got people up in arms about it, and the producers of the show are just saying, hey, we're not the judge or the jury, we're just the executioner, and so it's really there's a lot of fun things to play with there, and you've got this sort of group in the background that we call the Cavemen, and they're sort of this protest group that is kind of trying to disrupt the game somehow, or trying to make a political statement by disrupting the show. And so that's a B story that's flowing along there that I actually had the most fun coming up with that and writing that, because that to me was more talking about like, well, what would happen if this kind of show really did exist, and in the near future, if virtual reality was real enough that you could sort of trick your mind into thinking you're really into a game, then it could kind of be maybe done. So there's a lot of that going on in the movie, which I think just makes it kind of like you're saying, people are seeing it and thinking, well, this is a little bit more than I thought it was going to be, which was just sort of a parody.
When I see the Jurassic Games premise, like you guys have a very ambitious premise. Like you didn't just throw it together, and ham it up. Like it seems like there's a lot of thought that was put into that idea. And that right now we're talking, you've clearly thought about all the different aspects of that. Whereas I think the assumption with a lot of the people on the Film Online is they see these really shameless, we're going to move, cash grab movies.
Sure, and that they might be expecting something like Scary Movie 4 or something,
right,
like a parody,
yeah.
And it's not. It's not. Think of it this way, in my position, I'm being asked to make a movie called The Jurassic Games, and they're coming to me saying, hey, we want a movie called The Jurassic Games. We want it to be a Hunger Games Jurassic Park mashup. And I'm like, great, cool. So it's up to me then to come up with a movie that fits into that. Well, when you're being asked by a sales agent or a distributor to make a movie for different territories all over the world, there's a lot of like sort of parameters and things that you should follow to give your movie the best chance of success, right? And so if you know our thought process behind making the Jurassic Games, it's weird because a lot of what I'm being asked to do to make a movie like this gets translated into the movie itself. So the TV show is called The Jurassic Games because the exact same reasons why they want me to call the movie The Jurassic Games, because they want as many people to be grabbed by the title as possible.
Right.
In the movie, a character says, why do you think that they picked dinosaurs to be the things that we're running away from? And then the other character says, well, because they tested better than robots, which is true.
Right.
We made the movie about dinosaurs because we did a survey to buyers, and they would rather see dinosaurs than robots at that time when we were because they wanted something to push out with the Jurassic World series. So there's a lot of like real, things that are going on that we sort of like put into the movie in kind of a meta way that made it really fun for us, because it's kind of a commentary on a lot of things, but it's also a commentary on making a movie like this.
Right.
Right.
That's really brilliant. I love the way you put that. No, I like the idea too. It seems like, again, I haven't seen the film yet. Very excited to check it out. But did you take a lot of inspiration from maybe reality TV shows and things like that?
Definitely. Yeah, because Survivor was a show that I watched, and I thought, it's cool how they will have them solve puzzles and mazes and things, and it's never just always about strength or the size of the person. It could be about the skill or the how savvy they are with puzzles and stuff. So I thought, well, I want to add that in here. It's going to be, they have challenges and stuff that they have to do that doesn't necessarily rely on strength. It could rely on luck, or it could rely on just timing or whatever. But then we throw dinosaurs in there, so imagine trying to solve a puzzle and being chased by a dinosaur, And so that was really fun, and it made for I think a pretty interesting movie.
Yeah, excellent. Well, let's talk. This is also a film that's shot here in Oklahoma, and it seems like you guys. I mean, I follow you on Facebook and seen you guys found the cream of the crop on these locations, because having looked at the trailer, it's not one of those. That's an Oklahoma film. This obviously is set in a virtual reality, and you guys covered a lot of ground. It looks like.
Well, that's the cool part about having a movie like this, is that you don't have to really explain why they would be in the forest one scene, in the desert the next. And so we were able to play with that and come up with these fantastic exotic locations. And I really wanted the locations to look a lot different from each other. And so we worked with the film commission, and Yusuf over there is fantastic. He's the locations guy over there, and he helped us kind of scout and discover some of the great places like Little Sahara, which is up in northwest Oklahoma, which is literally, if you haven't heard of it, it's incredible. It's like there's a spot in there that if you go stand out there and look 360, it's 70-foot sand dunes completely all around you. It's like Tatooine or something. It's unbelievable. Wow. So we filmed a lot out there. There's a place called the Gloss Mountains, which are millions of years old, sort of like the remnants of when there used to be ocean covering this part of the world. And it's kind of like these dugout mesas that are very much like a Martian landscape or an Old West kind of landscape. So we filmed there. And then also Robbers Cave down in southeast Oklahoma. It's Bigfoot country, it's like tall trees, lots of fallen rocks and caves and rock formations and stuff. And we filmed a lot there. There's a lake there and stuff. So, we were able to take advantage of Oklahoma's diverse geography, because there really is. I mean, there really is. People think of Oklahoma probably like it's just a big flat plain. It's not. I mean, there's beautiful mountains and sand dunes and swamps and forests and stuff all over the place. And the Film Commission's been fantastic with helping us get access to those locations.
That's excellent. So there's a good variety of places to film here in Oklahoma, and it's nice to see a movie that really takes advantage of most of those all in one film. So maybe talk a little bit about casting. It's funny. Ryan Merriman is a guy who's been off my radar for a while, but when I saw him pop up in this movie, I was like, Disney Channel guy, and I'm not even joking. Like Smart House, Luck of the Irish, and I feel bad. I know he's done great things since then, but those are the things I immediately go to. And then I had no idea that he was also an Oklahoman at the time. So that's really cool. So can you talk with me a little bit how your casting process and how you identify the people you wanted for the roles? Yeah.
Well, Michelle DeLong, who's a great casting director here, has a relationship with Ryan. Worked with him, I think back in the Disney days, and even later. And when we were talking about casting the host of the show, I said, well, I want a evil Ryan Seacrest, really, is what I want. And she said, well, I know Ryan Merriman would be perfect for this, And so she reached out to his agent, and he read the script and was very excited. and signed on to do it. And I'm kind of like you. I knew him from Smart House and Luckily Irish, and he's one of those guys. When I saw his picture, I was like, I know exactly who that is, and I know.
He hasn't aged a day.
I know.
He looks the same.
I know. And he was in 42. He's in Final Destination 3. He's in Pretty Little Liars now.
Oh, 42. Yeah, that's a great film.
And I know he's like sometimes goes overseas to Pretty Little Liars conventions and things like that. So I mean, he's still doing very well. A very hardworking guy. And I'll be honest, this was a little bit nerve-wracking for me because not only did we have Ryan, we also had Perry Reeves in the movie. Perry Reeves was an Entourage. Yeah, so Will Ferrell's wife in Old School. So, so Perry came in and Ryan came in. And when Ryan came in, I was a little nervous, because I picked him up from the airport, and it was just me. And he came out and he kind of had the LA look, that baseball cap and sunglasses and shorts and he came up to me and just kind of, we hadn't talked before, and he came up and just gave me the biggest hug.
Oh,
and
wow.
He was just like, man, I am so excited to be in this movie. He goes, when I read this part, I was like, this is me. I'm going to be evil Ryan Seacrest, and right then, man, all my worries and fears were gone. I mean, I was like, okay, this guy doesn't see me as, necessarily like some podunk Oklahoma rinky-dink operation. He sees me as a peer.
Right.
And that completely right away eased my mind and made me feel like, okay, we're going to work together and we're going to work to make this really cool.
Right. It's not going to be an uphill battle to kind of try to, okay, yeah.
Like he's not doing this just as another job. He's doing it because he wants to, and I thought that was really cool of him. And so the energy that he brought, and Perry was the same way. I mean, Perry was super nice and gracious and came in and did an unbelievable job as the character. And both of those guys showed such a huge level of professionalism and quite frankly skill that everyone that was around them lifted their games up to match it, and that was really cool. It was really cool to see that. And those guys did a great job. And, we only had them on set for 4 days in the main sort of scenes that they were in, but it set the tone. We shot those first and it set the tone for the rest of the movie. And so everybody realized that hey, no, this is something to be taken seriously. This is something that we're all going to, bust our butts on to make this the best we can. And so everyone from, writing it to the cast and crew and then up through post-production was really putting in kind of this amount of effort that was probably a little bit out of their comfort zone, they're pushing a little bit harder than they probably expected to. And it was because everyone was so passionate about it. And that's why it's rewarding to me now is when people watch the movie or critics talk about the movie or people have a lot of fun with it. They're surprised by it and they're saying, I didn't expect this movie to be what it is. And now I'm watching it and I actually liked it or whatever. It's just, it makes me feel great. It makes me feel really proud of the team because I think if anything is on the screen there, it's you can see the passion, and you can see everybody just did everything they could to make that movie the best they could with our limited resources and budget and stuff. So yeah, I mean, Ryan's awesome. Perry was awesome. But then locally, we had a great cast too of people.
It's like Adam Hampton, Kate Jones, and Sidney Flack. A lot of folks who've been making the rounds for several years here in Oklahoma. Who are great talent.
Yeah, Katie Burgess too from Tulsa. Adam Hampton. Sidney, Luke Wyckoff, who's a relative newcomer. You've got Kyle Pennington, who was in Gremlin. And a big cast of local guys that all again rose to the challenge, and I don't think any single one of them felt, like they were not they didn't belong there, and everybody stepped up. And I mean, the movie was very physical, and for the guys who played the convicts, I mean, there was a lot of fighting and running and sweating, and and those guys, every one of those guys stepped up and kind of took punches to the face, for the movie, literally.
Wow. Yeah, that's they bled for the art,
right,
so to speak.
Exactly.
So let's. I'm kind of curious. This is of course. You've done special effects. I mean, Army of the Frankenstein's a little bit there, and then of course even more in Gremlin. And this is another huge step up.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about what was it like to look at your team and say, hey, we're going to make CGI dinosaurs? What were the challenges that came along with that?
So Stephanie Roach and I were the ones that kind of did Gremlin, and we came up with the Gremlin creature, and then I did the lighting and rendering, and she did all the animation, and her and I did about 150 shots for Gremlin together. So we sort of understood the pipeline and the workflow. We came up with how we want to put a creature into a movie, and then put it in there successfully enough that it would work in a movie and be able to be sold and all that stuff. So we came up with all that process. When it came time to do Jurassic Games, it was very clear that there was no way in the world that just two people were going to be able to do the number of shots that were required in Jurassic Games. So I ended up reaching out to local people I did it on Facebook, and I was like, I need CG artists. I need people that know how to do this stuff, to come work for me. And honestly, there's not very many in Oklahoma City that have the skill level required to come in and like immediately work on this kind of stuff that we're trying to do. There's lots of students and there's lots of places that are starting to teach this now, and some great programs in some local universities and stuff. But even still, those students are at a level that, while they have a lot of talent, I need them to be like ready to work on a film like
yesterday. They show up and they can start working and adapting to your processes on day one.
Exactly. So I was very fortunate to find Dan Moyer and Jency Jennings, both who are experienced CG people that were kind of transplants or about to move to Los Angeles or something. And I brought them in and said, no, I need you guys here working on this with me. And they bought in, and I hired them to work full time with me. I also used Matt Gardocki, who's a local visual effects guy who's worked on a lot of movies. And he did an amazing job of all of our sand particle effects and our T-Rex scene in the desert, which is the highlight of the movie. It's incredible. And he worked really, really hard on that, put tons of hours in on that. So it's a team effort, big time. It went from 2 people to eventually, I think at one point I had 15 or so people working on the visual effects on the movie. And, it was a real challenge to keep it all consistent and together. But again, everybody was a team player and worked really hard and just made it happen somehow.
So let's talk. I mean, you've got a lot of dinosaurs. I think you mentioned to me that you also have a saber-tooth tiger. Mm-hmm. Like, what are some of the creatures folks can expect to see in the film?
Well, you got, your stars are the dinos, right? And you've got the T-Rex, you got the raptor, you've got the saber-tooth tiger, which we had a lot of fun doing. You've got, we have a man-eating plant that was kind of fun to do. And then you got sort of your secondary guys, which are, you got pterodactyls and brontosaurus. You've got a triceratops. We've got a giant spider. We've got a little, I'm not even sure what the name of them were, but just little dinosaurs like
compies.
Yeah, compy. Like yeah. You've got a couple of those in there. So we wanted a big dragonfly and stuff. So we wanted to have a bunch of different creatures. Where Gremlin had one creature, we probably have almost 10 different types of creatures in here. So, again, that was another challenge because each one of those things had to be rigged and lit and animated. So I just wanted to add as much sort of like excitement and diversity. Like a movie, The Dark Crystal is one of my favorites, right? And so for no reason at all, in The Dark Crystal they'll have these little like puppets come up, these little creatures that are in one shot, and it's like, why did they do that? Well, it was to build the world and make the world seem bigger.
Right. Right. Well, it's those little details, the little world building things. Those are the things that make it feel more authentic whenever you can get those in place. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, deadCenter is right around the corner later this week, and there's a lot of great films that are going to be playing there. Not to take it too far away from Jurassic Games, I'm curious, like, do you have any other films at the festival you're excited to watch?
Oh, of course. I like Laurent a lot. I haven't talked to him a whole lot in person. I met him 2 or 3 times, but I think You People looks like it's going to be great, and I can't wait to see that. And then, you've got Kyle Roberts' The Grave, which I've been following for a long time. He's been working on that for a long time.
I'm excited. That's a really big passion project for them.
Yeah. And a lot of the cast kind of bleeds over from Jurassic Games into The Grave, too. So I'm excited about seeing that one. I like Kyle's work a lot. And then, I'm kind of excited about the Nick Collison documentary that has just been announced to be playing there. I've had the chance to work with Nick Collison a few times in car commercials, so, and that guy is the most genuine, nicest, coolest dude. I mean, I loved working with him, and he deserves any kind of attention he gets. So I'm excited about that. And then, I always love watching all the Okie shorts. I'm going to be there all the time.
It's a strong block. I mean, it's the last 3 or 4 years, it's consistently where you watch them and you're like, man, all of these Okie shorts block. I mean, they're really great material.
I hope that we can be a part of, sort of elevating the quality of the stuff that's coming out of here, and I think that you're right. I mean, every film that I see now that Oklahomans are doing and producing is really at a much, much, much higher level than even like 10 years ago, 7 years ago, or whatever was even really possible. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that people are getting better and more savvy to how to do it, but also, it's easier to get access to the equipment. People are taking it more seriously. The film and music office is really, really out there, making sure that not only are these projects that come into Oklahoma to bring money into Oklahoma are taken care of, but also local homegrown filmmakers are getting the same exact equal benefits and opportunities to make their movies here. And I think that's really important because I'm not I'm trying to build a studio here that can build, do multiple movies and bring in business into Oklahoma that employs, filmmakers and CG artists and, all these different people that it takes to work on a movie. I mean, we probably paid 100 people to work on Jurassic Games, so there's a lot of people that can make money here. And I love seeing the quality of the films get better and better. When you talk about someone like Kyle, he and I kind of started around the same time with Post-Human Project and Army of Frankensteins, and we looked at each other's work with sort of a friendly rivalry, and we were always friendly to each other and like each other and support each other. But I think both of us would admit that we're looking at each other's work going, wow, I have to top that now.
Yeah. It's a little bit like a friendly competition, yes. Right?
I think so. And I feel that way with really any person, I think, that's doing this that makes me want to get better. And but at the same time, I want to add to that it's not just about us in Oklahoma elevating us against each other and competing with, like, I'm not competing with Kyle or anyone else that's making a movie. Like, when you go out to AFM and see your movie competing with every movie that's trying to come out that year, let's I want the Oklahoma filmmaking community to look and see there's something bigger than this. We can actually produce movies here that can be sold all over the world and released all over the world. That's who you're competing with. So let's elevate ourselves all collectively to do that. And I don't like seeing things that divide our community here. It's very small.
Yeah,
we can all work together, and we all should be working together to uplift each other's work and abilities and stuff.
Absolutely, and I definitely agree, and like to celebrate that positivity. That's one of the things about Oklahoma that's great. I'm not native Oklahoman, but I'm getting steeped in the film. One of the things that's really cool that I have when I travel and check out or talk to people who are in these other different, Austin or New York. There's definitely a real sense of everyone wants everyone to succeed, generally speaking, I think. And I know it's every community is like that, but it's really positive seeing people, the way you talk about your relationship with Kyle. Like it's a competition, but not because you're trying to out them to make everyone better. And you're also taking the resources that you've earned from your films and pouring it back into the community as opposed to just picking up and moving,
Yeah, and I hope Kyle and I get to work together, someday. There's lots as we grow and the films become more successful and are being seen by people outside of Oklahoma. There is opportunity for us to bring that attention here and then therefore employ all these guys. If my company gets to do 5 movies a year, I can't direct 5 movies a year, right? I need other directors, I need other producers and writers and people to come in and help me. And I know them, they're here, Right. So that's hopefully the benefit of all of us working together to elevate the whole scene, and that's exciting for me, big time. Cool.
Well, is there anything else you would like to add about the Jurassic Games today?
Well, we are having our world premiere at deadCenter, which I'm super excited about, and we can talk about Friday, June 8th. It's at deadCenter, and then it's going to be released on VOD on the 12th of June. So all the streaming services will have it then, and then on DVD it'll be available at Walmart and I believe Redbox, also Family Video and places like that on July 3rd. You can pre-order it right now on Amazon. So that's where you'll be able to find the Jurassic Games, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
All right, Ryan Bellgardt, the writer, director, producer of the Jurassic Games. Thanks so much for joining us on the Cinematic Schematic today.
You bet, man. Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Caleb.
If you're at home listening and you've enjoyed our talk with Ryan, make sure to stay tuned to thecinematropolis.com for even more deadCenter coverage, including filmmaker interviews, reviews, and more. You can check out the website or follow us on social media on Facebook at facebook.com/thecinematropolis or on Twitter and Instagram at thecinematrop. Thank you so much for tuning into this special deadCenter podcast interview. We'll catch you back again next time on the Cinematic Schematic with more interviews.